Great to have you on the show again, Eric. As a racer, I'm sure a tough one to let slip, but congrats on the P2 finish. What a show, an awesome three-car battle you were a part of at the end there. Last time we spoke, you mentioned that Tucson is like a cheese grater. How were you able to put the number 5 Sherwin-Williams Toyota up front and contend for a win there?
No, I appreciate you having me back on. Like you said, it's a such an abrasive track, and I mean, I love tracks with character like that. But I mean, even with me knowing it going in, it's so hard as the driver really to pace yourself when you see, the guys going aggressive early. And I mean, without my crew chief Dustin Ash and spotter Logan Jewell and the whole Jerry Pitts Racing crew is an entirety kind of pacing me on the radio, and I realistically. I don't think we would have had even what we did at the end. So, I just kind of followed what they advised me to do on the radio to the best of my ability. And when it came time to go, we went for it there.
10-4. No, interesting. Was one of my next questions was on the strategy. Kind of answered it right there. How
hmm
would you say the track and the car changed throughout the night?
Yeah, I think honestly, when we practiced Friday night, the track had a lot more grip than when it came around to be sunny on race day and
Okay.
track warmed up, and things just as far as handling really went away. And some people chased it. We personally decided not to, just thinking that it was going to cool down so much by race time, and yeah, it really we didn't know exactly what we were getting into there, but. As we were kind of riding around probably 40% effort there for the first half, you really didn't know what you had until it came time to, give the green light and go. Pretty much for us, that came at the restart. So it was interesting, but by the time we went for it, to a certain limit, just trying to save something there for the end. The handling certainly came back compared to practice, but I think once you get that many cars out there for that long, it's still not what it was in that first night of practice for sure.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, we saw how close you and Tanner were at the end, and you were among the only two drivers to finish within a second of him. It sounded like the car was a little bit loose at the end. How was the handling there on the closing laps?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. When we got out there in the front, um, battling there with Huddleston, I knew I had to take care of my stuff then. Seeing him push a little bit just because I needed to have something, um, you know, come later in the race if we were to have a restart or something. Same thought when I got out in the lead. Crossing the start finish line, I had the thought of like, okay, new leader, check the box. That was first in the career, and then it went right back to the mindset of just, okay, no matter who's behind you here, just get around the bottom slow. Don't push it here in or out. Just save something for the end because I mean, I would have made the biggest bet in the world that there was going to be another yellow. And so just tried to save what I could. But even then, with about 20 laps to go, the handling was certainly noticeably going away in the front end of the car. Just the ability to stay hooked up going around the corner there on the bottom. So you just had to back your pace off and keep backing it up and backing it up to keep the tires underneath it. And so letting the 19 and 13 slip by there, I knew that was probably my only chance rather than fighting them to make it there to the end. And with about 5 to go, it was go time now or never, right? So it was interesting to see how much we had left. And going to the top side there, we tried it in practice. I knew it was going to be really hard on the tires because it's just much more abrasive than the lower two grooves. So you can only get up there for a short amount of time, but there's speed there while you're there. And so when we moved up there, it certainly worked to get up in the mix. You saw it coming to the white, and then going into 3 and 4 the last lap, my thought was, okay, 19 and 13 are on the bottom. They're probably going to get into each other here, so let's not go down to their door and become a catch net. And the car's not turning down there anyway, so my best bet's to run the top side. So I went in on the top, hoping I can get the power down, and just by the time I got to the center of the corner down there, it was barely turning as is. I pick up the throttle, it's sideways coming out, and car just basically was, giving me all it was worth there and then some. So, yeah, unfortunately, just wasn't meant to be. But yeah, the tires were just gone.
10-4. No, I really appreciate you going over that, especially with the tire wear. Saw you taking that higher groove at the end, so I appreciate you breaking that down. What
hmm
What can you take away from this race, and how can you use it looking towards another short track at the end of May at Colorado National Speedway?
Yeah, I think one, confidence is big for both me and the team. Just they put so much time and effort into getting us to where we are, even this short in the season, and I think for them to see something that they can have as a receipt for those efforts is huge. Not that they doubted me any, but just for them, it's just it's a big win. And then on my end, it just goes to show that I think the preparation goes a long ways. Like we were talking about, had a pretty good idea of what to expect going in, and then putting a game plan together to kind of act on it. I'm not sure how many people did or didn't go into that race with a plan or a structure. I think some people just got what they could right there in the beginning, and you saw it with how many leaders we had. And then there was clearly people that had enough there to be racing there at the end, hence the 13 winning it. So the 19 was right there. The 50 had speed all night. I know Kyle Keller was saving and stuff. So from a driver's perspective, I just think it's such a close field. You're going to have to find the advantage both on and off the track by putting in the effort. So it's going to be a really fun season to follow.
Awesome. Yeah, can't wait for the rest of the races. With the second place finish, you are 5 points behind Tanner Reif and Trevor Huddleston, who are tied for first. The top five in the standings are separated by 8 points. At this point of the season, how do you feel?
I feel fantastic. I think the goal is, as much as we are points racing, every time we go to the track, our number five team is certainly racing for the win, and we're just going to continue to go to the track with that mindset, and I think that just puts the pressure on us every time to put in the prep work, right? So, I think it's going to be a really fun season. I think the points battle is going to go all year long with that group of top five drivers there, and I got a bunch of respect for each one of them. I think everyone's in their own unique situation, and I think it's going to be really, really cool to see how it pans out in the end. But just grateful to be a part of the mix, and yeah, I think there's no reason we wouldn't have a shot at it come time, at the end of the season in Phoenix.
100%. Agree with what you said with that points battle, and kudos to you guys. The racing so far this year has really been clean and very exciting to watch.
Well, I appreciate that. I think as a whole, everyone's got a lot of respect for each other, and it's a very tight knit group. We race each other hard, but I think there was certainly times there where guys could have used me up more than they did, and I tried to race them with the same respect, and I think that goes a long way for everyone. So it's going to be a fun season of racing with these guys if that's how it goes.
Agreed. You in some of the other series you don't see that with the younger guys, so it's really great to see that in ARCA West. So really appreciate your time again, Eric, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Awesome. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
You too.